Good morning, UUSS. If you would rise in body or spirit to sing Joy in the Morning. We'll find joy in the morning. Joy in the morning. Joy.
A joyful morning to you all. I'm Dawn Huebner, your worship associate, serving alongside the Reverend Lucy Bunch, musicians Anthony and Irina, and the UUSS choir. Whether you are on Zoom or here in the sanctuary, we are glad you are here. If you're with us online, you can find a copy of the order of service on our website or through a link in the chat. If you're new to UUSS and here in the sanctuary, please fill out a newcomer's form at the welcome table after the service. If you're attending online, you can access the newcomer's form from a link in the chat or on our website. The newcomer's form allows us to connect with you to help you explore all that UUSS has to offer. And speaking of what UUS has to offer, the Blue Sheet, our weekly calendar of events, is available online. Extra copies are in the back of the sanctuary if you didn't get one coming in. A few things I'd like to highlight from the Blue Sheet. Representatives from 2 of our community partners are here today. Jessica from Wellspring Women's Center, which has been our community partner for the bulk of the month of March, will be in the Welcome Hall after the service. So stop by if you want to hear about the center or additional ways you can help. And we're continuing to accept diapers for Wellspring. You can't miss the pile of diapers in the Welcome Hall, or bring your donation to the office by the 31st. Eric Ross from the FEA Nature Center is also here. We partner with FEA whenever there's a fifth Sunday in the month, like today. You'll hear more about the FEA Center during the offertory, and Eric will be at a table on the patio after the service to answer questions and talk about involvement at the center. Jumping ahead to next week, Easter. So pull out your favorite pastel-colored clothing, stick a few spring flowers in your hat, and join us for the service. Then please stay after for the annual Easter egg hunt and a visit from UUSS's own Easter Bunny. Details are in the blue sheet. Returning to this Sunday, today is the official end of the pledge drive. If you haven't gotten around to filling out a pledge form, please do so at the table in the Welcome Hall after the service. And now I'd like to welcome Matt Esposito Castro to the pulpit to talk about why he and Maria give.
Buenos dias.
Buenos dias.
I'd like to start with a few words from poetry. It says, one journey gives, one river gives its journey to the next. We give because someone gave to us. These words from a poem by Alberto Rios called When Giving Is All We have been sitting with me in particular the last few weeks. My name's Matthew Espinosa Castro, and I'm proud to serve on the board for UUSS, but I'm really here on behalf of my wife, Maria, who was supposed to be the speaker, and unfortunately, she's still recovering from a car accident that has left her with a concussion and some cognitive issues that makes it difficult for her to attend. And in these past weeks, we've experienced what this poem is asking, what giving really looks like. It's looked like messages and check-ins from many of you over the past week, steady support and care from our reverends, soup from the caring committee, and her friends from choir not only keeping her company, but helping her recognize the signs of concussion and making sure she got the care that she needed. But more than anything, it has felt like not having to go through these kinds of things by yourself. My wife, I know, has felt this deeply, felt held by this community, and so have I. We came to UUSS looking for a community of like-minded folks, and maybe also to engage in that ongoing mystery of how to make friends as adults. As it turns out, all you need to do is show up and join a few clubs and sing a little, and eventually someone will bring you some soup, and then you know you're part of a community. I knew my wife loved singing, but I didn't realize how much she would blossom, especially under the tutelage of Anthony and the choir and Christiana. And, you know, leave it to her as a scientist to find a group of fellow science-loving nerds who would sing and would become her friends in this effort. And a special shout out to Barbara, one of those science-loving nerds in the choir who have been hosting concussion daycare when I'm at work. Plus, we've made meaningful connections with the young adults group, with the People of Color Caucus. All of these are ways to make us feel more at home, even when we're only here once a week. When we talk about being centered in love and united in action, I feel like that's what it looks like in our lives. It's not just a slogan, it's those meals delivered, it's messages sent, it's the people showing up and asking how she's doing. This community doesn't just talk about love, it organizes it, it practices it, and it lives it. And we give because we want to sustain that, not just for ourselves, but for others who we know will need this kind of support. Because, like the poem says, we give because someone gave to us. And we're grateful for all of that. Gracias, and thank you for your support.
Thank you, Matt. Dave Dawson is our chalice lighter today. Come on up, Dave. Our chalice lighting words come from the Reverend Sanjay Hawk, the minister of the Sierra Foothills UU, a student minister with us, and we were one of her ordaining congregations. Reverend Hawk has these words: "With the lighting of this flame, let us grow the radiance of joy. With the lighting of this flame, let us spark the brilliance of hope. With the lighting of this flame, let us shine upon the hearts of all those who suffer, all those who yearn, and all those who crave the joyful noise of community. All beings, no one left behind."
like to invite anyone from grades kinder through 5 who are involved in Soul Kids to make your way out to the Welcome Hall. Crystal is there to greet you and for you to continue your exploration of service topics as we sing your song with you. You gotta keep one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love.
Now is the time for our lighting of the candle of compassion and resistance. In this ritual, we recognize the times in which we live, times of disruption and anxiety in this country and the world, when cruelty is on display and so many are in danger. Our values call us to compassion and resistance. As we kindle this flame, let its light inspire us to bear witness to human decency, dignity, freedom, and the power of love.
It's good to be together. One of the ways we build the connection and strength of the fabric of this community is by sharing our joys and sorrows with each other. And you can let Reverend Roger or I know that you have a joy or sorrow you'd like to share by a link in our message that comes out on Friday afternoon, or calling the office before 5 on Friday. This morning, I share with you a request from Jan Fleming for positive thoughts and prayers for her partner, Jim, as he is on a journey with cancer. Bobby and Gary Keel are also asking for prayers for their daughter, Amy. She has been dealing with depression and now has been missing for several days. We pray for her safety, and we send our love to Gary and Bobby. One of my ways of ending prayers is to use the term blessed be, is to say, blessed be. This term comes from Wicca. It's in a neo-pagan or Wiccan practice to end gatherings or to end connections with the phrase blessed be. And the reason why I love it is because it has the word blessed in it and it has the word be in it. It's an offering of blessing and a recognition of you are fine just the way you are. Blessed be who you are now in this moment. And so I'm offering a prayer this morning by the Reverend Cara Fortner that is in that spirit of blessing and blessing be. So please settle into your chairs. Open your heart, open your ears to be present for these words. Dear humans, the ones with senses that witness and hearts that break, the ones with brokenness and bruises, seen and unseen, know you are blessed just by being. Dear humans, who struggle through changing tides and crashing waves, the ones who dig deep and hold on tight, and the ones who run up the beach to the safety of the dunes, know you are precious and that you have choices. You who let joy kindle your souls even when outside forces would wish to blow out the flame, know you are lovely and wonderful. You who study, research, express, and innovate, who question and test and experiment, know you are needed and valued in your curiosity. Dear humans, the ones who commune with the trees and the animals, who admire the caterpillar on the milkweed and marvel at the spider on her web, know you are beautiful in your connectedness. You who struggle, you who love, who yearn for more and better and more loving, you who suffer, who resist, who play and delight in the important things. Keep your precious ways, which bring more loving into the world. Cherish your innovations and your choices. And dear humans, know that you are blessed just by being. Blessed be. And now let's take a moment to reflect on the prayers in our hearts. Blessed be.
Let's be light for one another as we bring our voices together. May I be light in you, may you be light in me, into our hearts, into our souls, let love abide. May I be love in you, may you be love in me, in this place, into the world, for all time. May I be light in you, may you be light in me, into our hearts, into our souls, let love abide. May I be love in you, may you be love in me, from this place into the world for all time.
Good morning. I'm Lou Bunker. I volunteered to do today's reflection because stoic is a word that I have used to describe myself through my life. I used to joke when things were hard that stoic endurance was my superpower. On reflection, I have meant different things by that word at different times. When I was a kid, my family had no coherent practice of recognizing, naming, expressing, or processing emotions. We were an intellectual family. I heard a quip once that resonated with me. Somebody said, in my family, we had two emotional states. We were either fine or tired. And that's what it's like growing up for me. And my mother was afraid of therapy, which she equated only to Freudian analysis. My father was contemptuous of it. He felt that if you needed to talk to somebody, then you were weak. And so we cultivated this family mystique of we were strong, we were people of mind, and we were in control, and everything was fine. By the time I got to college, I had already lived through some significant life events. My parents got divorced. There was a nasty, protracted custody battle. We were used as weapons by our parents against each other. My father suddenly died right before my 15th birthday. So a lot. And by about sophomore year, I had been away long enough to sort of question my conditioning, that therapy was bad, and I was feeling awful. I couldn't explain why, but I was just miserable and pent up and unhappy. And so I went to the counseling center, and the intake person listened to my story, and at the end she said, "It sounds like you have some anger." I was astonished. This had never occurred to me in my entire life. And she assigned me to a regular counselor, and one of the first things that person said to me was, "You're a writer, why don't you write about your feelings?" That was like turning on a fire hose. Given permission at last to start expressing myself, I found an old notebook from a class that was still half empty, and I started writing. And over the next year, I produced a stack of notebooks about that tall, much of it illegible, just straight lines. I was writing so fast, ragged, all caps, just mad scribbles until the pen punched through the paper. I had a lot to get out. That was the beginning of my learning a different way of having emotions in a life. And over the years that followed, I continued to try to develop those skills. I didn't learn very well. It took often learning under stress, learning in situations how to do better. There were ups and downs. My mother died young too. I had a marriage that in retrospect probably shouldn't have happened, that ended in divorce also. There was the gender journey that I needed to go on, professional disappointment, money problems, all of that stuff. But over the years, I tried to learn to get better. And all through that time, I still had those notebooks in a bin in a closet with some of my other early writing. And from time to time, I thought of getting rid of them, but I always hesitated, maybe because I didn't want to disrespect old me, and maybe because I didn't quite trust myself completely yet. And I felt like if I got rid of that, I might need the insights that were in there. Just 2 weeks ago, my wife, Dawn, went on a vacation, and I had the house to myself. And in that stillness, I realized I had the urge to purge and that I wanted to look at those books again. So I pulled them out and spent a day going through the bin. I made two piles, the keep pile with some journals and things in it, and the discard pile, old writing, and finally, at long last, the packet of therapy notebooks. I let them sit for a day to be sure, and then I went and found a local shredding company and shredded that. They're gone. Why now, I wonder? I think perhaps it's because I've recently decided that I'm no longer an older, middle-aged person, but a young, old person, which I find to be liberating. But it's also because that young me was strong, and I am still strong. The difference is, in the old days, all of my emotions were like black smoke pumped into underground steel tanks under enormous pressure, making the ground vibrate. And I was terrified to open the tanks. I was miserable because they were there. Now the tanks are open. Feelings come and go, like weather. I do my best to live in the moment. I'm an amateur DIY Buddhist, so I do my best to do that. And these days, whatever else I'm feeling, I always wake up, get out of bed every morning with a fresh amazement and delight in the absurdly unlikely miracle of any of us existing at all.
This reading is from the advice column, Tell Me About It, by Carolyn Hacks. Dear Carolyn, the first grandchild on both sides of the family is due in 3 months. My son and his wife have informed me they want to bond privately for a month before allowing any visitors. We'll talk about you a little later on. I asked if I could make the 6-hour drive just to meet the baby, even offering to stay in a hotel, but they refused. I explained that experienced mothers traditionally support new parents with meals, laundry, and other chores, but they're insisting on total privacy. They clarified that it's not related to concerns about germs. I am truly, deeply hurt. We have a good relationship otherwise, so I'm baffled by this decision. Is this a new trend fueled by social media? Friends have suggested the new parents are likely to call for help within a week. And if they do, I want to be supportive, but I can't upend my life on a whim. Of course, if there is an emergency, I would go immediately. How do I get over my disappointment and hurt feelings? Signed, Baffled and Bruised, Grandma-to-be. Stay tuned for the answer during the sermon.
We've gotten 2/3 of the way through the service without saying our mission statement, so let's say it together if you know it. We come together to deepen our lives and be a force for healing in the world. One of the ways we live into this mission is by giving away half of each Sunday's offering to an organization working to make a difference in the world. Whenever there's a 5th Sunday, our partner is the FAYA Nature Center. Extending along the American River, there are numerous trails on this 100-acre preserve. Naturalists and volunteers promote environmental literacy to people of all ages, including children from high-poverty areas. They also care for injured birds, reptiles, and other animal ambassadors. Eric Ross from the Nature Center will be on the patio after the service to answer questions if you're interested in learning more about the center, including how to volunteer. The Nature Center is supported exclusively by donations and grants, so our generosity makes a real difference. With that in mind, and with UUS's thanks, this morning's offering will now be given and received. As the ushers come forward, please join me in blessing the offering. May generosity bless our world, and may gratitude nourish our spirits.
So, what do you think of when you hear the word stoic? Likely, it's a person who shows little emotion, perhaps is rather rigid, and bears pain without showing it. Kind of like Mr. Spock from Star Trek. The word stoic comes from the Stoics part of the great philosophical time in ancient Greece, which also included the Cynics and the Epicureans. In our modern day, these rich philosophies have been reduced to a one-word descriptor of a particular type of behavior. The word Stoic comes from stoa, which was the overhang of the building where the early Stoics would meet. However, unlike Epicureanism and Cynicism, though Cynicism is very popular, not as practiced by the Greeks, Stoicism is having a comeback after more than 1,500 years. These philosophies came of age during a very chaotic time in human history called the Axial Age, a time of great philosophical, political, and imperial transformation. This was not only in Europe, but in Asia as well. Religions that arose during this period were Buddhism, Confucianism, Taoism, and Stoicism. And these religions all share some similar themes and ideas. We have very little information from the actual founders of Stoicism in ancient Greece. Most of the materials that they wrote are lost. What we do have are the writings of the Stoics, primarily Romans, that came after that era. Stoicism had a robust following for about 800 years until Christianity became dominant in the Roman Empire. Learning to control your emotions could not compete with heavenly bliss for eternal life. But here we are now in 2026, and Stoicism is having a resurgence, starting about 10 years ago. Its message and practices resonate with people living in our chaotic times, where we can easily feel overwhelmed and out of control, just like the time in 300 BCE when it originated. Currently, there are dozens, perhaps hundreds of books, podcasts, Reddit sites, Substack posts, lotta about Stoicism. I have personally found a lot to reflect on and use in Stoic thinking, and I'm eager to share with you some of its main tenets. But let's put it in the ancient Stoic context. The Stoics were theists. They believed in God. Their God was an immanent God, present here, as opposed to a transcendent God, like the God of the Hebrews and the Christians. The God was present and active in the universe, and they called this God Logos, universal reason. Their God was a logical and rational force, and with this God, everything happened for a purpose. Eudaimonia is the Greek word for human flourishing, and that was the goal of the Stoics. And it meant living in accordance with the Logos. And the way that you did this was through virtue. Now, their philosophy was active. It wasn't you sat around and talked about it. It was something that you did. It's a practice in how to be in the world. Cognitive behavioral therapy, developed in the 1960s, was based on Stoic practices. As I studied Stoicism, I was quite surprised to learn the ways that their theology were similar to Unitarian Universalism. They believed in the basic goodness of humans, that each of us have a divine spark, that we are a part of God, and our task is to realize the fullness of that spark. This was also one of the early ideas of Unitarianism, and one that's alive for us now. For the Stoics, justice was a key virtue, caring about others, attending to the common good, doing what you could to make a difference. Sounds kind of familiar, doesn't it? The Stoics believe that since we are all part of God, we are interconnected. This was reflected in their emphasis on justice, but also in this focus on virtue. Because we are all interconnected, we each must be intentional and virtuous in our actions. We must tend to the interconnected web. But if you want a catchphrase that really describes what Stoicism is all about, it is virtue is its own reward. The Stoics believed that the only life worth living was a life of virtue. Their practice revolved around three virtues: wisdom, justice, moderation, and courage. The Stoics would tell us that every challenge in life provides an opportunity to practice virtue, to make wise choices, to remember that your actions affect others, to start with intentions not to make things worse, and even possibly to make things better, to have the courage to do the right thing. One of the key components of Stoicism is the idea they call the dichotomy of control. And for them, this means when you practice wisdom, the most important thing to know is what you can control and what you can't, what is within your control and what is outside your control. So what can you control? You can control your actions. You can control your reactions, your judgments, your ideas, your aims, your desires, your aversions. What can't you control? Pretty much anything else, including other people. Freedom comes from not trying to control things that are outside of your control. Anyone who has been in Al-Anon will be able to explain this idea to you. So virtue requires managing our emotions so they don't cause difficulty for ourselves and others. It doesn't mean that you don't have emotions. It just means that you don't let them be in charge. So let's walk through the steps of this. Something happens every day. You recognize what has happened, and then you put your own spin on it. You can bring in rational thought to control that spin. Pause. Notice your feelings, your breathing, then make a choice. Make a choice to not take things personally, not catastrophizing, not judging, not projecting motives onto others. Dave Dawson is one of the people who inspired this service, and he and I were talking about one of the best ways to practice Stoicism is while driving. Somebody cuts you off, right? Why don't we assume the best intentions of that person? They didn't see me. But what do? We take it personally. So notice your feelings and let them go. I know it's easier said than done, but it's an excellent practice of wisdom. Like Buddhism, Stoics also stress that we should not get attached to outcomes or allow ourselves to be controlled by our desires or our aversions, that we should manage our expectations. This is where the virtue of courage comes in. Courage to not act on things, courage to maybe step back, or courage to step forth. All right, so this is a good point to come back to our poor, baffled, and bruised grandma-to-be. Let's remember that she was disappointed that she couldn't see her grandchild for a month. She had, well, you remember it all. Let me just turn to the response. So I'm going to share the response from Carolyn Hacks, the advice columnist, but I'm going to annotate it with some Stoic reasoning and ideas. So baffled and bruised grandma says in her last line, how do I get over my disappointment and hurt feelings? So here's what Carolyn Hacks says. That I can't tell you, but I can say from my own experience how to make disappointments and hurt feelings last as long as possible. Number one, take others' ways of life personally. Number two, push back against boundaries by looking for loopholes. Number three, harbor secret hopes that they'll change their minds. Number four, minimize their agency and blame some malign force instead. She goes on, maybe this seems harsh, and I do sympathize with your disappointment and frustration at not getting the grandma debut you envisioned. Expectations. But some wake-up strength clarity is in order because your approach isn't just prolonging your sense of grievance. What you're doing has also negated and undermined and upstaged the new parents. So what would the Stoics say? Grandma-to-be created expectations of what should happen when the baby comes and got very attached to them. So attached that she couldn't control her emotions when things didn't go her way, and she acted out, quite possibly damaging her relationship with her children. She took their actions personally and put herself in the center of the situation. Then she projected all sorts of motives on them. So what was within her control? Not the parents, not the baby, not the visits, not the decision for the visits. What was in her control were her own emotions and reactions. When her attempts at control had no effect, she chose criticism and judgment to sustain her own ego and sense of entitlement. Carolyn Hacks goes on, here's your place of comfort. You're a grandma already, always will be. A month is a blip. Their zone of privacy is a blip. Parenting style differences, all blips. It's the power struggles that ruin you. I would add in the Stoic context that it's also your expectations, projections, and judgments that can ruin you. And they can also create hell in your own mind. Finally, Carolyn concludes, being a grandparent offers decades of opportunities to make these mistakes. You'll avoid most or all if you learn to step back from your expectations of being at the center of their decisions. Maybe in the first or second ring from the center, or whatever ring they invite you to join. A wonderful grandma place, if you can embrace it. The Stoic message here is, be happy with what you have rather than desiring more. Engage with what you have with humility and gratitude. Now, of course, it's easy for us to dissect this woman's missteps. Of course, it was traumatic for somebody over here, but I hope they're feeling a little better. It's much harder to manage our own. But if you take anything away from this sermon today, let it be this, that the only thing you can truly control is your own actions and reactions, the workings of your mind. And an unskillful projections of all your expectations, entitlements, and judgments can do damage to both yourself and to others. Okay, so I think I've laid out some pretty good concepts about Stoicism. Now I want to step back and consider some of the problematic sides of this way of being. The modern versions of Stoicism have been attractive to people who practice toxic masculinity. But the merging of these two is not consistent with Stoic ideals. Virtue is the goal, but not taking pride and ego in your virtue. For Stoics, personal striving and control must be balanced with humility, gratitude, and care for others. Some people have criticized Stoicism that the idea of engaging or not engaging with things outside of our control can lead to passivity. This is also a challenge with Buddhism, which shares some of this philosophy. But not having control doesn't mean you don't have influence. You can't change the way people vote, but you can make calls or send postcards to change their awareness and open up possibilities of a different outcome. This drive for virtue can also lead to perfectionism. I see this more in the modern Stoic version of the philosophy because it's become a self-help process. It's a fully secular philosophy. The ancient Stoics' theology recognized that love and care should be extended to others as well as ourselves. Love and care for all that are in the interdependent web. I think modern Stoicism would work very well in the context of Unitarian Universalism. We could provide a religious home for these Stoic ideas. There's a criticism that the focus on rationality can be too strict and unbalanced, always going rational. Stoic philosophy was written at a time when we didn't understand the power of our emotional side. They considered emotions something that could and should be controlled. For example, they felt so strongly about anger that they didn't think that there was any way to channel it for good. We understand the body better now and know that there are some functions of our bodies that are outside of our rational control. We understand now that our unconscious has power over us. But this awareness doesn't mean that the Stoic teachings are without value. It's good to be rational. It's also good to be emotional. Keeping the balance should be our goal. Don't suppress or reject your emotions, but don't let them be in charge. I was inspired to share these ideas with you because just as the Stoics were 2,000 years ago, they can help us navigate a time of transformation. Many of us now are struggling with strong emotions, feelings of powerlessness. So in the spirit of love, my dear beloveds, I want to urge you to learn to manage your emotions and your reactions to the troubles in the world. We are all on a roller coaster, and our emotions are running high. And if you are reactive, afraid, catastrophizing, you are giving away your power. Try to let things go that are not in your control. Try to focus on what you can do. You can't negotiate an end to the war in Iran, even if you're the best negotiator in the room. You can't convince Republican senators to open their eyes to the fascism present in our current administration. None of this is within our control. But you can make a difference in so many ways, and you should. Stoicism can offer perspective that feels important in these days. They advise us to take time seriously, but take ourselves less seriously. What seems critical in this moment will likely not matter tomorrow or next year. I know that can feel really harsh with all the suffering in the world. But this type of perspective can be really helpful. remembering that in the long arc of human activity, we are a blip. We do the best we can in our time. As the Holocaust survivor Viktor Frankl said, when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. There's so much more to Stoicism than I have time to share with you this morning. And if this calls to you, I'd be happy to provide a recommendation for additional resources. But I want to close with one final Stoic practice. Memento mori. Remember death. Remember that we all die. This helps remind us that every moment is precious. So take time seriously. Don't spend your time regretting or romanticizing the past or catastrophizing the future. Be here now. Do your best to manage your actions and your reactions. Try really hard not to make things worse. And quite possibly, you will make things better. So may it be.
Simple and profound. My life flows on in endless song above earth's lamentation. I hear the real, though far off hymn that hails a new creation. Through all the tumult and the strife, I hear the music ringing. It sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing? What though the tempest round me roars? I know the truth, it liveth. What though the darkness round me close? Songs in the night it giveth. No storm can shake my inmost calm, while to that rock I'm clinging. Since love prevails in heaven and earth, how can I keep from singing? When tyrants tremble as they hear the bells of freedom ringing, when friends rejoice both far and near, how can I keep from singing? To prison cell and dungeon file, our thoughts to them are winging. When friends by shame are undefiled, how can I keep from singing? I lift my eyes, the clouds grow dim. I see the blue above it, and day by day this pathway clears, since first I learned to love it. A heavenly peace restores my soul, a fountain ever springing. All things are mine since I am loved. How can I keep from singing?
As we extinguish the flame, please join me in speaking our shared intention. May the power of this gathering light our way forward with courage. In the days to come, let us remember that fear is outworked by hope, and that hatred is no match for the power of love.
Let's reach out. Let's take a deep breath. I want to let Viktor Frankl have the last word here. Holocaust survivor, knows something about this. I remind you that he says, when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. Blessed be.